Moonshine Comedy.
Hi, my name is Benjamin McWilliams.
And I'm Sylvan. Welcome for the episode number 27 of Lost in Lithuania.
27, and we actually have a guest here. We're gonna let you introduce. I'm gonna let him introduce himself. Just tell your name, a little bit about your background, and here you go.
Hello, everyone out there. I'm William Carl Byen Jr., originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I'm in the U.S. Army. And wow, I'm looking forward to this conversation here.
So one of the reasons why we thought this would be an interesting. So we met him at the open mic last Tuesday, and he told us that he was correct me if I'm wrong, you're one of the first people that came here to assess like NATO, like Lithuanian integration into NATO. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Held up the mic.
Yes, that's correct.
It's
yes.
okay.
Sorry.
We're learning.
I'm new at this.
Yeah. So like, I guess my first question is like, can you explain like the first thing, like did you land into Vilnius Airport?
Yes, it was such an amazing story. I just returned from Operation Desert Storm. As you guys may recall, that's when we liberated Kuwait from Iraq, Saddam Hussein's Iraq. So I got to my next duty station. That was Ramstein, Germany, and my commander called me in the office. Hey, Lieutenant Byen reporting for duty, sir. I got a new mission for you, Lieutenant. Lithuania. I'm like, sir, where's Lithuania?
But have you ever been to Europe before that?
Oh yeah, I was stationed in Germany and other places. Okay. So I said, where's Lithuania? I said, isn't that like part of the Soviet Union, Russia?
You was not wrong.
He was not wrong on that one.
I'm like, well, okay, and why am I going to Lithuania, sir? Listen, they're interested in joining NATO because they've got their independence now from the Soviet Union, and they're an independent European country that's interested in joining NATO. So I want you to fly to Vilnius with your team of 30 soldiers, and I want you to talk them suckers into joining NATO.
Oh my gosh, that is crazy. So like they said, so you were in Germany, they said, we want you to go to Lithuania and talk them into. All right. So did you flew into Vilnius then?
Yes, flew into this third world airport. It was like old Soviet MEGs on the side of the runway, broken down Russian cargo planes. Oh, the runway had potholes in it. I mean, it was
a bumpy ride.
It was rough. But anyhow, it was like.
I have a question. So, like, you've been to the airport recently, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Is it the same, like that same building, or is it like completely different? Because I know it's like there's like the pillars there.
I think the building is the same.
It's the same. I mean, it's made some modifications and some renovations.
They cleared out a few debris.
Yeah, but it's basically the same airport, so it's very nostalgic for me.
So for you were like the head of the person to like be like, hey, we wanna like you were the person who were like trying to sell NATO to Lithuania, right?
Well, that's part of it. It was actually the U.S. Embassy that was in charge of it, and the Pennsylvania National Guard made a close connection with the Lithuanian Army, because I don't know if you know, we have a lot of Lithuanian Americans that live in Pennsylvania. So we had a special connection between Pennsylvania and Lithuania.
Okay, so I remember you told me, like, when you first came here, some of the reactions when you told them you're here from NATO. Please, could you share that to the camera?
Yeah, you know, a lot of Lithuanians, they didn't even ever see an American before, because, you know, during the Soviet time, it was difficult for Americans to come to Lithuania and for Lithuanians to leave Lithuania. So, I mean, I was walking downtown Vilnius with blue jeans on, and people were like staring at me like, what the hell?
Why are you wearing those blue jeans? I heard you had an altercation with a Russian soldier, you were telling me.
Yeah, so we were in Rita Septore, and the Russians were transitioning out, but at the same time, the U.S. Army was transitioning in. So we had some uncomfortable times with engagements with Russians, and they were in a bar drunk, and one pulled a pistol on me. Luckily, it was just a ceremonial parade pistol.
Like they pulled a parade pistol?
Yeah, and he's like, what you doing here? And I said, well, we're taking over, guys. No, this is part of Russia. No, I'm sorry, we're taking over, guys. So in that transition time, the Russians were pulling their equipment out and their soldiers out, but there was a transition time where there were actually American soldiers and Russian soldiers here at the same time.
Oh, that must have been wild. I like how you said there were altercations.
Yeah.
And it's like I love just your expression, like altercation. So they were just drunk fighting.
And they were broke. So the Soviet Union, as you know, just collapsed. And thank God for Reagan and Gorbachev. I mean, they made such a difference in millions of people's lives. And boy, I really have a great respect for Gorbachev and Reagan. They changed the lives of millions of people.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. So do you? I definitely have some questions.
We have some questions. So I
you-
think it's better than like let's because I want to go like from the beginning to like how Lithuania is now. So the first question would be, what was like the biggest cultural shock when you arrived in Lithuania? How was Lithuania in 1993?
Okay, so I've never been to Eastern Europe or an ex-Soviet country. So for me, when I came here to see like Russian cars like Moshkovich and Volgas, and to see Russian MiG fighters at the airport, and Tupolovs and Antonovs, as a pilot, I was just really amazed to see Soviet aircraft. And we were staying at the Dragiste Hotel, that means Friendship Hotel, and this hotel was where the Soviets would invite foreigners to stay. And we were actually warned in this hotel, be careful what you say.
There might be some wire in the...
There may be still bugged. But this hotel was wild. I mean, it was like at the top there was a bar, and in the evening all soldiers would go up there, and there was like prostitutes and fights, and it was just total
Sounds like fun.
chaos.
Oh my gosh, this is like the underbelly. It's like, yeah, no, we had peaceful negotiation, but with prostitutes.
Yeah, so it was... just to see the Soviet, the clothing, the architecture, and went to the KGB museum. That was very interesting. So the biggest shock was just seeing like the reminiscence of the Soviet Union here.
Yeah, I guess before we move to the next question, I did want to ask, like, now you don't see any Soviet remnants except for maybe like Soviet blocks or certain stuff like that.
Exactly. And to see something like that, I recommend to visit Gruntas Parkas, and they have these old Soviet statues and Soviet trains and weapons that you can see there. But no, I'm so proud of Lithuania. It's become a modern European country in 30 years.
Good job, Lithuania.
Yeah,
all right,
amazing.
So got another question now. Was Lithuania's NATO integration more about politics, or was there like a real military necessity? I would say there probably was a military necessity.
Let's hear
from
that.
It was to the advantage of the United States and all the NATO members that we were able to move our lines further east. So that made a buffer between United States and Western Europe, so it was advantageous, and we were very interested in doing this. And it was political, and it was a lot of integration, so we had to get rid of this Soviet equipment and replace it with Western equipment. So like getting rid of these old Soviet T-62s, T-72 tanks and replacing them with American and European equipment.
So they just left the tanks there.
A lot of them were left here. The Russians were broke, and a lot of their equipment was broke down, so they were selling it like for scrap metal.
Yeah, I was about to say, what were you doing that? Like, did they just sell it, or were you guys like, this is ours now?
Well, we were analyzing it too, so that was very helpful. So
I like that.
We took some of this equipment.
The military was like, I'm gonna take this, analyze it, and look at it. So.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Do you want to ask? Yeah. You can ask the next question.
So maybe, did you ever felt unwelcome or threatened while working in Lithuania, beside that event which you had? But overall, like, what was the crowd's opinion?
Like in 1993.
Yeah, in 93. Yeah. But we know that we're speaking about 93.
Yeah, I know.
Not right now.
Sorry.
No, I felt very comfortable here. It's very similar to Pennsylvania. My country, my state is Catholic, and Lithuania, as you know, is like 99% Catholic. The people were very grateful and thankful that we were here to help them. So I would say there's a lot less crime and problems in Lithuania than there is in my home country, United States.
It's same for me.
Yeah, I definitely get that. Whenever I go back home, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is dangerous. I'm like, I'll stay in Lithuania. So you, and then you live here like part-time, right?
Yeah, so our missions were usually 8 months to a year, and then we'd go back and it would rotate. And we also took Lithuanian soldiers to Pennsylvania to train with us, and they helped us in Afghanistan, Iraq. So, yeah.
And you met your wife. You met your wife during that time, right?
Yes.
You're like, Lithuanian wife.
So that's another story. So it was a.
So how did you two meet? Go.
So it was a nice weekend. She was the director of tourism for the Klaipėda region, and I went to the Tourist Information Center to get some information. I actually wanted to rent a small plane from the Klaipėda airport and fly to Gothenburg, Sweden, because I was also importing American automobiles like Jeeps and Hummers and stuff.
Were you going to fly the plane?
Yes. So she told me, she set it up. It was an old Piper that was sitting at the Klaipėda airport, and she was an attractive, beautiful woman. I said, hey, would you like to fly to Sweden with me?
Oh my gosh.
And she said yes. So long story short, nice weekend together. I went back to the United States. About a month and a half, 2 months later, I get phone call. Hello, Bill. This is Jorate from Lithuania. I have very good news for you. We will become the child. I was like, what?
What? We will become a child?
So she pregnant.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
I just like, we will become the child.
But man, I'm the luckiest man in the world. This woman was so educated. She went to University of Moscow. She was successful in business. She was buying and selling apartments in Old Town. I mean, I hit the jackpot with that woman. She was basketball player and such a good mother to our son. But sadly, she got ill with Huntington's disease and she passed away. But she was an amazing woman, really.
Yeah. So
it's life. But I'm so happy for the 12 years we had together and the beautiful son we have together. And he's half Lithuanian, by the way. He was born in Lithuania. He's now serving in the U.S. Army in South Korea on the DMZ.
Okay, yeah, I lived in South Korea for a year and a half. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so you just sometimes now, like, you're retired, you sometimes come here just to like live, or do you work?
Yeah, so I volunteered. I'm an instructor with the Lithuanian Riflemen's Union. So this is similar to our National Guard. In the United States we have reservists, like we call them weekend warriors. So in Lithuania you have a volunteer military. They're called the Lithuanian Riflemen's Union. And I volunteer. I teach close air support, reconnaissance, salute reports, different U.S. military subjects like this.
Okay.
So it's just a fun hobby for me.
But how many volunteers are in this battalion, or how you call
Oh boy, I think they have several units. They have units in Vilnius, Šiauliai, Alytus, Panevėžys, Klaipėda, Marijampolė. So I would estimate there's probably about 25,000 of these volunteers. And if we go to war with Russia, these volunteers are going to be very important for Lithuania.
Yeah, because they already have the military training.
Exactly.
But they are not officially part of the army yet.
They're not even paid. So these guys are
That's
real
even more
patriotic.
impressive, yeah.
These guys are so patriotic. They do this because they love Lithuania.
Yeah, that's one thing. Is just like the amount of like people who just love Lithuania. I mean, they're very. But you look at like the steps they had to make themselves a country. I mean, they held hands with people in Latvia and Estonians.
Amazing.
Sorry, no. I mean, no. I'm just joking, but about the Latvian. But I mean, it is a beautiful thing. Like it is amazing to see that. All right, so we got some more questions. So were there any secret negotiations or tense moments between NATO and Russia at the time? And what would happen if Russia tested NATO's Article 5 with a small attack on Lithuania? So like during
we can
that
take
time.
them separately.
Yeah,
Were there, like
so-
any discussions with Russia at that time? They were okay with Lithuania joining NATO, or
You know, Russia was not okay with it, but they were
we know that
but
already.
they were basically broke, and the United States was actually investing a lot in Western Europe in Russia. So those leaders were pretty calm. We had Gorbachev, then Yeltsin, but things got bad with Putin. That's when things really changed. So, and as far as Article 15, I can tell you guys 100%, we're committed to that. If any NATO country is attacked, the United States and Europe, we're all in. We have contingency plans for that.
Okay, but is it still that readiness and that approach is still applicable with the new leader of NATO? Let's call it like that.
Yes, I think so.
We all know it was.
I think-
Yeah,
Because-
it's really in the interest of the United States to protect Europe. We have a lot of investment here. I mean, you guys, everywhere you look, McDonald's, Burger King, Coca-Cola. So of course, the United States is committed to that. I believe so.
Not even that. We've got some local American businesses here, like the
Philip Morris
English,
and- yeah.
English comedy club, Moonshine Comedy.
yeah. Guys,
If NATO is not protecting that, then what?
Yeah, protect our comedy club. No, but it's definitely really fascinating, and just how have you seen just the city of Vilnius change and evolve? What would you say? Is Old Town different? Is it any thoughts or anything before and now?
the quality has improved 100%. The restaurants, the nightlife, the hotels. I mean, this country has gone from a post-Soviet third world country to a modern European country. Amazing.
Yeah, and you were basically one of the people who came there in the beginning. This is so fascinating to talk about. Anything else you would like to talk about, or maybe tell people of Lithuania things you've seen, or maybe people have changed or anything different.
Sure. Well, I'd like to say, first of all, that thank you, Lithuania, for being such a good NATO partner and friends of America. And you should be really proud of your country. I mean, what you've done in the last 30 years is really quite amazing.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, you should be. Do we have any more questions? You have more?
I would have one more. Were there any concerns that Russia might try to take military actions to prevent Lithuania from joining NATO, to actually get back here with troops, if there was any moment like that?
There were some tense moments, but cooler heads prevailed, and we never got to the point of the brink of war. So luckily, we were able to negotiate with the Russians, and nothing happened there. Yeah.
And I guess we can finish.
I don't know. I was gonna say because we do have some Lithuanians in the audience watching us. You guys want to ask him any questions? This guy is
all 500 of you.
Yeah, all 500. We got 2 people. One of them is at the bar. So
probably, what would you say was the craziest thing?
so what was the craziest
The
thing?
thing that you just saw, or
That
that
you
it
saw-
happened, that
oh.
it was, you couldn't believe it.
So what's the most? So she just asked, what is the most craziest thing you saw in Lithuania that you just could not believe, you couldn't wrap your mind around?
Boy, oh boy, there's been so many, but I guess I was going for a jog on the beach in Nida, and I saw this sign, and it was a silhouette of a woman, and I didn't quite understand.
I know where this is going.
I didn't
I
quite
don't know where this is going.
I didn't quite understand what this sign was, but I continued my jog towards Kaliningrad. And anyhow, I looked around and I happened to see there was a lot of naked, beautiful women. And I realized that I had just entered the private woman's beach
Yeah.
where they're, naked. So I'm like, oh boy, I'm in trouble here. So I just continued to run. I looked the other way towards the ocean, and here come 2 women, and they're yelling at me in Lithuanian language, and they're completely naked looking at me, and I'm just like, I'm so sorry. I'm from America. He said, oh, from America. It's okay. So, anyhow, I continued my run, and so that was pretty funny.
I got a similar experience, but mine was better. I actually went accidentally to a men's beach.
Ouch.
It's better. So, I mean, as a closing, what's one thing Americans could learn from Lithuanians? Maybe something, I don't know, you appreciate about Lithuanians and you would like Americans to do more, maybe.
So, Lithuanians are really clever and hardworking people. And what amazes me is when I talk to some of my friends, like fellow officers and police, and they're earning like 1,000 euros to 2,000 euros a month. And they're dressed nicely, they have nice cars, they have a nice house. And I'm just thinking, the math here, how are they doing it? How do you survive on 2,000 euros? That's what I spend.
Tax evasion.
If I go to Palunga for the weekend, I spend 2,000 euros. And so Lithuanians are very clever, and the way they got their independence, they're strong people, highly educated. So I think Americans could learn not to be so lazy and complacent, and we can learn from Lithuanians.
There we go. Learn from Lithuanians. Hey, yeah. So anyways, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you. Enjoyed. Thank you.
Yeah, no, not a problem. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So we're gonna make like our quick announcement. So do you want to say anything else to the people? I don't know. Last words of wisdom from you. Do you have any last words? No?
Oh, okay. Last words of wisdom. Keep going, Lithuania. Labai gerai.
Labai gerai.
Ačiū.
Right. I'm going to steal this one. And so we're just going to do quick. So, yeah, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. This is very interesting. We actually saw him doing stand-up here. We were doing our open mic on Tuesday, and he said, does anyone want to go on stage? And he went, I do.
So yes, that's how we met in our weekly open mics. So every Tuesday, Bar Policlinica show starts at 8:30, and every
Thursday here at Flow Bar at 8 p.m. Come check us out and
Good time.
and subscribe if you haven't. done it
subscribe. And guys, thank you very much. And you guys have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
It's Vekata.